Hey guys, I want to talk to you about a really fascinating kind of twist in the plot of history that happened after World War II. It was about 5 years after the surrender in Tokyo Bay that the very nation that the United States had fought to a standstill, Japan, became the unseen arsenal for the U.S. in the Korean War. In June of 1950, around midnight, the North Korean tanks crossed the 38th parallel, and the United States military was caught completely off guard. Their equipment, think about it, was aging. The supply lines were across the Pacific had fallen apart. General Douglas MacArthur, he was stationed at that time in occupied Japan, and he knew he could not wait for shipments to come from California. So he turned to the Japanese people. He had understood their work ethic, he had understood their strategic abilities and what they could do. And even though they had been dismantled and their factories had fallen apart, he re-engineered their factories and he put them back to work. Suddenly, the United States military was not just an occupying force, but it became Japan's biggest customer. Now, Japan noticed this and started calling it special procurements. Manufacturing went into an immediate thing. Factories that used to make Zeros and Japanese tanks were suddenly working again. They were producing uniforms, truck parts, ammunitions for all the UN forces. The logistics for all of this was absolutely amazing. Damaged American tanks and planes were shipped to Japan, and they began to repair them. Japanese engineers worked on them, and within days could get them back to the front line. They also provided minesweepers. A lot of former Imperial Navy sailors from Japan would go into the waters of Wonsan and also Incheon, and they began to sweep the waters for all of the mines. Now, all of that was done in a very quiet way under U.S. naval operations. For the Japanese economy, the timing was miraculous. Think about this. Before 1950, Japan was suffering hyperinflation. They had the post-war depression going on. They were totally decimated. But all of a sudden, they started realizing the Korean War was what could be called as a gift from the gods. The U.S. spent about $2.3 billion and it injected into that economy and it brought them roaring back. I mean, think about it. The massive influx of American dollars, the restart of the heavy industry, just to keep going to win the battles of Korea that were there, it laid the foundation for what could be called the Japanese economic miracle. Companies today like Toyota were on the verge of bankruptcy in 1949, but they were saved because of thousands of orders for military trucks. By the time of the armistice in 1953, Japan had transformed itself from a ruined-occupied territory to the essential industry hub for East Asia. It's one of history's greatest ironies that's out there. The tragedy of the Korean Peninsula provided the fuel for the phoenix-like rise of modern Japan. Isn't that amazing? Who knew? History has this way of having some incredible plot twists.